Husam Zomlot is the head of the Palestinian mission to the UK and strategic advisor to Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas, and he joins me now live from London, and we will talk about the vacuum that is Palestinian politics and leadership in a moment. But I wonder, in your opinion, why do you believe that what I've just suggested you think is the dominant narrative? Why do you think that exists? And is it changing, if at all?
Well, it is changing, and it's changing primarily thanks to the youth of the world, thanks to the social media, the alternative sources of information, that now people know the truth. But still, we have a long way to go with traditional media outlets all over, I must say. And I sit here in London, and I'm dealing with the BBC and all these outlets. And the starting point, as you just described in quoting me, starting point always starts when Palestinians react to the ongoing, long-held policies by the occupier, that is Israel. Also, there's a great deal of misperception about the situation and misconception and misrepresentation. So the two-sidism, two sides. There's no two sides, Vicky. You've been there many times. There is only one side. That is the occupier, the colonizer, the besieger. Descriptions like war. What war? War happens between two armies. I mean, these primitive tools at the hands of some armed groups are in no way a match to Israel's very sophisticated weaponry. It's the fourth strongest army, a nuclear army, etc., etc. And the list goes on. And I just heard also your interview with the Israeli guest. And then that is the narrative that keeps being fed. The narrative that this is about the Israeli security, as if we don't have security. This is about Hamas, not the Palestinian people, when in fact it is primarily about the Palestinian people that have been struggling for almost 100 years now to gain their very legitimate rights, very basic rights.
All right, I understand that. I understand that. Let me just put this to you, because I do want to try and take this conversation further than perhaps we've been able to with others. Let's be quite clear here. Hamas seeks the destruction of Israel. And while that's the case, their involvement, they will never get a seat at the table in any sort of negotiations with Israel to try and find a solution. So Palestinians looking to Fatah, looking to the PA, looking for some representation, and they see, frankly, nothing at present. Fractured leadership, inept, many will tell me, inefficient, and at worst, corrupt. Do you accept at this point that what has been going on, as you say, for years, East Jerusalem a flashpoint, Al-Aqsa a flashpoint in the past couple of weeks, but this will never improve until Palestinians feel that they have some representation that works, sir? Your response?
Becky, I accept part of your argument and I reject another part. The part I accept is that we are in need of democratic process. We need the renewal of our democratic process. We need elections. We need the people to deliver their verdicts. Over the years, we have been proud of our democracy, of our elections. We are a people under occupation. We are a national movement, yet we have relied heavily on popular representation. And without that popular representation, without that renewal of our blood all the time, we would not have been as representative, as legitimate, as strong, as a voice for our people.
You haven't had elections in 14 years. Let me just put that to you with respect. You can talk about the atmosphere of democracy, but without elections in 14 years, it's not working.
No, but Vicky, please, give us also the credit.
Go on, go on.
Give us the credit for making sure that we convene elections up until 2006. Something has happened there. It was a self-inflicted wound. Hamas took over Gaza. We could not convene elections without Gaza, and we could not convene elections without Jerusalem, and we must convene elections. This is the part I agree with you. Absolutely. We are in need of that. And the part that I disagree with is that this is almost, we have brought this upon ourselves. So if we were more democratic, Israel would have been long gone from our occupied territories. We were democratic a few years ago. We have convened many elections. Yasser Arafat was the leader, the founder of all the nation, yet they besieged him and they killed him right live on the camera. So this isn't just about our democracy. The main thing, of course, we have a homework to do. We have responsibilities to make, but this does not quit Israel of its key responsibility.
Let's just talk about what happens next. The UN Security Council will hold a public meeting tomorrow on the situation. The Council, however, has been blocked from issuing a statement because of US opposition. We've also just heard from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Israel, who say that they are not interested in a ceasefire. What realistically happens next? Briefly.
Well, we are working round the clock with all international actors to bring Israel's aggression to an end. They must end the aggression on Gaza. I am from Gaza, Becky. I know these streets, these faces, these families. It's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking to see all these bombardments. I mean, you know, there is two logics here. The first logic is hit the civilians, so they pressure the armed groups. The second logic, disproportionate force. So we actually affect their mentality, their way of thinking about the next. And if this goes on, many lives will be lost. So we want to stop this. But we don't want to go to the status quo ante. This is the key point, Becky. The key point that we have to be hammering all the time. The status quo ante.